Welcome back to Finding Heather. Today, we're delving into the feeling of not really being yourself or not feeling like yourself, which can be isolating, especially in leadership roles. But remember, you have the power to reconnect with your authentic self. Are you ready to lead with genuine purpose? Let's explore. Not feeling like yourself can feel isolating, but it's not permanent. It's not a permanent state. Together, we'll explore ways to reconnect with your authentic self and lead with genuine purpose. Your authenticity is your greatest asset. Interestingly enough, I fell in love with performance from watching my granny do the church announcements at church. We used to have a little bitty country church, Pilgrim Rest Baptist Church, down in Mangum/Rayville, because it was right in between the little country towns. And she would always do the church announcements, and she would just do it. I mean, we're in a little country church. We're not on, Channel 5 News or something, but she would always do it with such like animation and really, really just connecting with quote unquote the audience. And I just thought, and I would always be so proud of her because people in that little country town, they thought that was amazing that she could get up there, and I guess having the courage to get up there and quote unquote talk good. And so that was my first experience of someone saying something to a group and the group having a response. And whatever she would say and however she would say it, people would laugh and they would smile. And I just always appreciated it. And like I said, and it would make me very proud. And so all of the church anniversaries and pastors' anniversaries, they would ask her to say the announcements or to, give the reports or whatever. Like I said, little small country church. But that was the first time I thought about performing and speaking in front of people, that it could, change how people feel. So yeah, that was my first realization that I would love to try that. The first thing to think about in public speaking or presenting is that you're always going to be nervous. Bottom line, just know. So the greatest speakers that you've ever seen, if they have a passion for what they do, there's going to be, and it's an energy. The nerves are an energy, and it's how you channel that energy. So personally, I have a strategy, a ritual that I do before I present anytime. When I'm backstage, I center myself, I get grounded, I take some deep breaths, I know that I'm prepared. And at the end of the day, I step outside of myself because whatever I'm supposed to be speaking about is not for me. It's not a show of how great I am or how grand I am. What I'm about to say could change somebody's life. What I'm about to say could be a blessing to somebody. And so I have to step outside of my own fear and my focusing on, well, what about me? And what if I embarrass myself? And what if I, and what if I, and what if I, and shift it to, you know what? I've been placed in this position to say these things for this very time. And I'm going to trust that whatever I'm supposed to say and do is going to flow through me. And I'm asking Spirit, God, the universe, whoever it is you pray to give me what I'm supposed to say, because this is not for me. This is for the people that I'm talking to. So when you take all the pressure off of yourself and you put it on God, that takes a lot of pressure off, and just get back into your heart and just ask, God, bless me in what I'm about to say to these people. And hopefully whatever I say is going to be a blessing to them. Because even when you're talking about things that seem boring, like numbers or reports or annual reports or things that there's always a way to add in some content that can change people's feelings and change their day. And even just in that one period of time that you have their attention, you can always use that opportunity to make a difference, always. And that's how you remember to this is not about me. Well, one of the benefits of stepping outside of yourself is because a lot of times we take on a lot of things that are not really who we are. We take on society's opinion of us, our third grade teacher's opinion of us, our brothers and sisters, our grandpa, grandma. But a lot of times we have things that aren't even us. And sometimes we just have to take a moment, okay, let me step outside of all of these layers that have been put on myself. And let me just step outside and look at myself and really appreciate. And a lot of times what's really good, visualize in your mind somebody that you love a lot. Like, who do you love a lot? Like, you would do anything for them. How would you want that person to be treated? How would you want to talk to that person? What would you want that person to think about themselves? What would you want that person to, how would you want them to show up in the world? Because you love them so much. Think about that person. Now think about transferring that same love, that same appreciation, those same dreams to yourself that you're looking at because you stepped outside of yourself. That same love, that same appreciation, we have to work on having that for ourselves. And the same, if you can do it for somebody else, you can do it for yourself because you're no different than any other human. The same way you feel that person, like, of course, I think about my son. I will go to the ends of the earth for him. I don't want anybody to treat him poorly. I don't want him to think poorly of himself. I don't want him to speak poorly of himself. I want him to be happy. Those same things, I need those same things for myself. I shouldn't speak poorly of myself. I should be happy. I should focus on the best version of myself. And that's what we have to do. A lot of times when you're in yourself and you're looking at all the negativity, that's what you feel. But when you take a moment to kind of step outside of yourself and say, I'm going to look at myself as someone that I adore. What do I want for that person? What do I want for this person? Who's you? That's you. And what do you want for yourself? Love yourself the same way. You deserve that level of love, that level of adoration. You deserve that. I don't think I've ever met a person who doesn't have some shame about something. We've all made mistakes. We've all made bad judgment calls. We've all experienced this. So just know that mistakes are part of the human condition. You're never going to meet a person who hasn't made a mistake, who hasn't done something that they're not proud of. You're not going to meet that person. And if everybody just stopped living and stopped appreciating themselves because of their mistakes, it would be a pretty not so great world. And we got to acknowledge, you got to forgive yourself because you are a human being and human beings make mistakes. It's a part of the human condition. And in order to move forward and to do better, you can only do better by letting that go. Forgive yourself the same way you would forgive somebody who you love immensely. Love yourself enough to forgive yourself and let it go, because there's a different level that you're meant to achieve. And and the only way you can get there is by letting that shame, that guilt, by letting that go, because there's a wonderful, greater you that the world is waiting for, and happier you. And as soon as you make the decision to let that go, that's when you can start being your true self and who you're meant to be today. Not that person in the past, not that person living in regret. That's over with. Like, no matter how much you think about it and beat yourself up about it, it's not going to change what happened in the past. That's not going to change. So how about we take that same energy and focus it on, instead, where do we want to be? Who do we want to be? What are our values? How do we show up in the world, showing the world, this is who I really am. This is what matters to me. These are the things that are important to me. And that's where we shift that energy, because everybody deserves to be happy. And guilt just squashes that. One thing that I learned from my grandmother is that she was always confident in herself, and she just didn't show any doubt. Even though she probably had doubt, she never showed it. And it allowed others to also be bold. The people that saw her, because again, like I said, this is a little bitty country town. When I say country, like most people have never even seen, unless you're from the deep, deep, deep South in the country. And she showed up and showed people, this is how you can show up. Little bitty, little old lady, and you can do it too. And that's what I learned when I would see her. I'm like, well, if she could do it, I could do it. One, because she told me I could do it. But two, it just gave me the motivation because I saw her overcome her fears to do it. And she was just, it was almost like sunshine beaming from her when she would, and so it was almost kind of like she was giving everybody a gift, right? And that's how I feel. I feel like I would love to give everybody a gift, just love pouring out of me when I'm presenting or I'm talking or I'm engaging with anyone. And I feel like everybody has that. Every person. Like if I was speaking one-on-one to one of my clients, I would tell them, you have sunshine to give too. Everybody has it in them. It's a choice. Sometimes, like they say, you might not be fearless. You just do it with the fear. Like you move forward. And that is what really matters. It's not about, oh, I'm afraid. It's when you're afraid and you don't move. You gotta move. You still have to move. And again, when you get outside of yourself and you're like, this is not about me. This is about the gift that I am being used to share. Even if I just touch one person in this audience by telling my story or things that I would do differently, or encouraging people that you have so many blessings and so many gifts within you that are just waiting. The world is just waiting for you to share. The world is just waiting to hear your story. That in itself, that's enough to want to just get out there. And again, it's not about you. Just ask for that guidance because you're just being used. You're being used as a tool, as the vessel for the message. And the fact that you were chosen, to give those messages to whomever, because you might not even know. You may never know how your message changes somebody's life. But you don't need to, because it's not about you. But it's about you doing your purpose and your service and being obedient. In order to make change, sometimes we do have to step outside of ourselves. You know, there's a disassociations, and sometimes that can be looked at as a bad thing. It can be a bad thing. But in this sense, we're looking at disassociation as stepping outside of yourself, not taking with you the baggage, the guilt, the pain, the shame, but stepping outside of yourself long enough to look back and see, wow, that's a beautiful person that needs love and compassion and nurturing and forgiveness. And sometimes that takes stepping outside of yourself and looking at yourself as a being that is divine and deserves love. And sometimes we just have to take that time because of sometimes when we're in ourselves, again, we're me, and oh, I'm this way and I'm that way and I'm this and I'm that and I'm, not good and not good enough. And sometimes it takes us just stepping outside of ourselves and saying, wait a minute. Now, this is me, just a wonderful being, loving entity, looking at this person. And to me, that person looks amazing. They're smart. They're gifted, they're talented, they're driven. They go for it even when they're afraid. Whenever they don't have the tools, they get the tools that they need. There are a lot of examples that you, I'm sure, can figure out and see of where you have done some amazing things. So you can always find what's good and you can always find what's bad. So you make a decision, you make a choice. I'm gonna look for what's great. This is an example of when I was great. This is an example of when I was compassionate. This is an example of when I was strong. And this is an example that I can always use of when I really, really took the time to care for myself. So you can always find these examples just the way you can find the other ones, but make a choice to look for things that are great about you, because there are always things that are great about you. Even if it's small, even if it's a small thing that you did for someone else or that you did for yourself. Remember those small things, because that's what matters. Focusing on what's great about you, because you're great. So a lot of times in looking at making changes, it can be overwhelming. You're just like, I just don't even have a clue how I would even start this process. Well, that's why I'm here. I'm here to help you, because I care. I really do sincerely care, because there was a time where I didn't know where to start. And I just happened to go to all these classes and go to all these courses and get these tools. And you don't have to do all that. I mean, you can. I encourage everybody to grow as much as you possibly can, because it's an amazing experience. It's an amazing journey. And if you need some help in the meantime, I'm always here to help. I'm always here to help you navigate this journey of self-discovery, because it's really, again, it's just like having a coach. You're the top athlete. I'm the coach. I'm the Phil Jackson. You're the Michael Jordan, I'm the Phil Jackson.